don't have sharp enough scissors.
Yeah,
I have to bring out the saw.
yeah, that's true. You're right.
I think this is the easiest
He's doing a good job.
because it doesn't have.
Brother, good,
The one I attended.
Good.
Give me words all day, don't read them.
Bill and him,
And Mayor,
I'm glad to see that.
you do the B,
Yes, ma'am.
all right.
I wrote my name beside it.
Mayor,
Sir,
I do D.
you're doing D?
Volunteering for D.
Well, okey doke.
Another one can do C and E.
Okay.
Uh-oh. where's
I'll do the
mine?
C,
You gonna do
We'll see who,
unless somebody already took it.
we'll see who beats
C.
Mayor
who
Pro
does.
Tem.
C.
Mayor Pro
Sure.
Tem. You gonna do E?
We'll see. We'll see.
It's okay, I'll do E. I'm coming up for election this time.
It doesn't matter.
Thank goodness.
What you got?
There's a,
E, I thought you said he would do E.
Well, C, somebody do C.
How you doing, sir?
yeah, I got like 10 seconds, I got 12 seconds left.
If nobody does it.
Efficiency. Always strive for
We're
efficiency.
making this more complicated.
How are you?
How's that day?
Baby's good. She was asleep when I left. Hope she stays that way. We'll see.
I slept too, but he woke up every freaking hour. 2 hours.
We got 5 hours out of her last night. We won't do that again. That was a
All
one-off.
right, go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is Lake Jackson City Council meeting, Monday, August 16th, 2021, regular session. I'd like to welcome everybody that's joined us today and also the people that are on watching us live streaming. And again, just a reference to everybody that's in the audience that we are live streaming this meeting tonight. We'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. We have Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Sahanya.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge allegiance to
Honor the Texas
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
And we do not have an echo in the room. That's Councilwoman Rhonda Seth. She's joining us via Skype, not Skype, through Zoom. Yes, and to meet the legal requirements for her to participate, she has to be visible also to the audience. So that's why we have the setup that we have. We're going to go to visitors' comments. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience that has a, yes, sir. Oh, sorry, invocation. See, that's why you're Mayor Pro Tem. All right. Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem, Buster Buell will give us the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another wonderful day and another opportunity to be here this evening. And when decisions have to be made, we ask that you give us strength, guidance, and the courage to make the decisions that we feel are the best interests to the majority of our city and the best interest to our majority of our residents and the best interests of our city. We pray for our men and women of our armed forces, both abroad and stateside, plus our EMS first responders. Please be with all those that are affected by the COVID virus. Help them to get over the death of a loved one and the sickness. Be with us as we travel home. Get us home safely. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. All right, so now, yes, visitor comments. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience, if they have an item they want to bring to the city council that's not on the agenda already, they can do so at this time. Is there anybody that has a visitor comment? Yes, sir. Come to the podium, please. State your name, address.
Glenn Jones, 118 Cypress. A couple of things, and maybe I just haven't been paying attention. The convenience center, it's open, correct? Have we made any effort to let people of the city know that it's there and what it's there for?
Convenience center.
Yeah,
I mean, besides the
Trash. Oh, yeah.
besides the web page.
Yeah, we've been doing social media and so forth, but that's about
Well,
it.
see, I mean, I don't know that really works that well, but because I've talked to 3 or 4 people that didn't even know it exists.
Okay.
And Mostly I was talking to the one that was dumping mattresses in their front yard, and I just happened to be walking by, and I said, you know, you've got a truck, why don't you haul it to the convenience center? They didn't know what that was. Secondly, Modesto, I think we need another one of them no dumping signs on the bridge. I call it the bridge across the ditch between Magnolia and Cypress on Gardenia. They're beginning to get, well, they're bad about throwing things in the ditch, but now they're on each end of it, on both sides, they put stuff, dump stuff. And, you know, and we had that problem on Ligustrum that a little bit of enforcement and that no dumping sign actually worked. So, and it seems like we had one there at one time, but it's not there now. So I thought, you know, we might take a look at that. Like now there's a television, and I meant to bring a picture, but a television and a mattress, and they put it right at the end of the rail on, I guess Ronnie discourages them from the other side, but they put them right at, you know, they bring it up there to the rail of the deal, and they pile trash. Sometimes it's trash, sometimes it's limbs, but I'm pretty
Where's
sure
this
we're not
again?
supposed to do that.
Where's it again?
The bridge over the ditch between Magnolia and Cypress along,
Okay.
it's on Gardenia, it's the Gardenia Bridge.
Okay.
And it's pretty messy down in there. I don't know how it got so messy. Somebody dumped a couple of giant logs in there. I mean, big, like this big around. And it's partially blocking the drain on one of the
Okay.
pipes. But anyway, I thought we might try that and try to see if we can enhance the awareness of that convenience center, if it's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a brochure that's going out, I think, early fall, just talking about all
Well, I
of
try
them.
to talk it up when I can, because
Right.
that's a big deal to me. I
Okay.
despise that mess in the yards. But I thought we might try that no dumping sign. It might work.
Okay, will
Again.
do.
All right. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to presentations. I have a presentation for a proclamation of Constitution Week. Everybody here receive it? Okay. You step around. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing great.
And if you don't mind, I'm gonna turn my phone over so we get a picture.
That would be perfectly fine. Okay, so this is proclamation. I, Gerald Rosnowski, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lake Jackson, Texas, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 2021 as Constitution Week in the city of Lake Jackson. Whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation. Whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebration which would commemorate the occasion. Now therefore, we, the mayor and the city of Lake Jackson, City Council of the City of Lake Jackson, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2021 as Constitution Week in the city of Lake Jackson. And the testimony whereof witness my hand and the seal of the city of Lake Jackson, the 16th day of August 2021. Very good. We get our picture. All right. Do y'all have anything planned?
We actually have a constitution luncheon
Okay.
on September 23rd,
Okay.
so anybody that wants to join us is more than welcome.
So where's that gonna be at?
It will be at the Marriott,
Okay. Here in town?
mhm,
Okay.
but anybody can contact us and we'll give
Where
them
can they
information.
find that information?
We have, DAR, Fort Celeste from DAR is on Facebook,
Okay.
or they can contact me. My email is Wendy, WENDE, Hester, HESTER, @gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
coming
much.
out.
All right, appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we have item 2, a declaration of conflict of interest. This is where members of city council could declare can declare a conflict of interest on any item if one exists. Is there a declaration to be stated? All right. Move on to consent agenda. We have item A, approval of minutes of the August 2nd, 2021 meeting. And item B, accept boards and commission minutes for Planning Commission and Traffic Commission. Do I have a request to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will take a motion.
I'll move to approve consent agenda items 3A and B.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we'll go into regular agenda, and I have to read,
No, you don't have
not
anything to
yet.
read for the
Oh,
budget.
it's item A, I'm sorry. Okay, we only do this
My name is Andrea Howland. My address is 112 Strawberry Drive, Lake Jackson. My question is, how old do you have to be a senior?
65.
65?
For water rate, yeah, 65.
One member of the household or
Whoever
both or
the
what?
utilities are in their name, they would have to be the one that comes up and
Okay,
registers for utilities, but yes,
okay.
then they would qualify, yes ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Close the public hearing at 6:50 PM, and we'll go to item B. Item B is, this is that correct? Yeah. This is a public hearing on, I gotta stamp us in again. Okay, this is a public hearing on the property tax rate of .339 per $100, which would increase the tax rate above the
balance the budget and try to keep this tax rate as low as we have. So even though it appears to be an increase, the increase is not really an increase, but an increase in the numbers, but not the spending. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments from the audience? Okay, I'll close the public hearing at, oops, I dropped my,
Oh, Megan,
man.
Meeting's
6:52.
over.
the gavel's.
The
yeah.
gavel has fallen. That's not a mic drop,
Yeah.
that's a gavel drop. Okay. Okay, at 6:52. Okay, so then we're going to go to item C. And that's going to,
He did, he read it before.
yeah. Item C is to consider ratifying the property tax increase of 4.39% as reflected in the budget for the fiscal year of 2021, 2022. So is there any discussion on this item?
I know, but someone, whoever makes the motion still has to read it out loud.
Yep.
I didn't make the motion.
Okay. So if there's no discussion, I'll accept a motion on item C.
Well, I move to ratify the property tax increase of 4.39% as reflected in the fiscal, the budget for fiscal year 21-22.
Have a motion,
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so motion carries on item C. All right, move to item D. We're going to discuss and consider a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2021, 2022 annual budget.
I'll read the resolution real quick. This is a resolution adopting the budget for the city of Lake Jackson, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October.
I move to adopt the budget for the city of Lake Jackson, Texas for the fiscal year beginning on October the 1st, 2021 and ending on September the 30th, 2022.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so we move on to, that was D?
Yes,
E?
it was D.
We move to
We're right.
item E.
Yes, sir.
We'll discuss and consider an ordinance to adopt the proposed tax rate of 0.339, final and first and final reading. Do we need to do a suspend? Okay. First, we need to suspend. Need to take a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. Mayor, I move to suspend the rules for first and second reading.
Have a motion. I need a second to suspend.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, now we can go to the ordinance.
This is an ordinance levying the ad valorem tax of the city of Lake Jackson, Texas on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city, not exempt by law, providing revenue for payment of current municipal expenses and for interest and sinking funds on outstanding city of Lake Jackson bonds, providing for enforcement of collecting, providing for a severability clause, providing an effective date, and providing that the charter rule requiring that the ordinance be read at 2 separate regular meetings be suspended.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of .339, which is effectively a 4.39% increase in the tax rate.
Have a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move to item F on the agenda. This is an update on Strawberry Drive and Timber Creek Drive Connection Path Project. Jeremy.
Mayor, Council, as you know, this is one of our projects. If you can go down, can you go down to the overhead?
You have to come. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. Just a few
I have to give you I need your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Joan Machoro, Machorro. Joan, Joan.
Okay.
420 Garland Drive, apartment 500, 77566.
Okay. Okay.
So I just had a couple questions for you. So it's a nature path, but we're putting in concrete.
This isn't a nature. This is
A nature walk.
This isn't a nature. This isn't a nature trail. This is a sidewalk. The nature
No.
trail is going to go through. The nature trail is going to go through Timber Creek, the wooded area on Timber Creek Drive.
And I just have, these are my questions, sorry. I just wrote them down, I don't know anything about it. I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's the average home value in this neighborhood?
That depends.
Is there a way to Google it real quick?
I would say it's probably about 380.
380? What's the average price of the houses in Lake Jackson? Was 240?
The average price is 225.
Okay. I mean, nature trail is a great idea. I'm just thinking that double the price neighborhood getting funds for something in their neighborhood. I don't know. It seems. Sorry, I'm anxious talking in front of people. It seems like the funds might be able to be used in a different neighborhood. Just saying.
We have approved quite a bit of funding to go into all the playgrounds in the city of Lake Jackson.
Okay.
To revitalizing those. It's in the millions of dollars range.
Right on.
So this is, what we're doing here is there's currently a playground on the end of Timber Creek Drive at Lake Road. And it's not really the best place to have the playground because accessibility is a challenge and so forth. So there's
Right.
always been in a part of our master plan is to move that playground into the other area, a larger area on Timber Creek Drive. And so that's part of the funding that's going to happen. So what we'll
Can
do
I see
is,
the map again?
it's not going to be on that map.
Okay.
But what will happen is that we're going to rebuild, we're going to move
That's down off of Garland Road. That's actually being renovated as well.
Okay.
It's on
No,
that
I
schedule.
totally appreciate
New
that.
playground, new tennis courts and paths and stuff will be put in there as well.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just like, it's interesting the amount of money being put into the nicer neighborhood to help with people walking. That's all.
Okay.
And has there been a study at all done on how the path with the concrete will affect nature?
No.
No?
As far as concrete goes, no. But again, All right, we're gonna move on to item G. Item G is to,
That's not me.
yeah, it's not you. Yeah. Item G is to discuss the possibility of the Royal Haze, a hookah lounge that sells alcohol opening in the city. We'll start with David.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We have with us here Ms. Bernard and her husband Carlos. They operated a smoking lounge at 38 Circle Way, which was called Royal Haze. They operated that from July of 2019 until May of 2020. She then ceased operation at that location and closed the business. She has recently leased 3 Circle Way, which is the old theater side of the old Lake Theater, and she would like to reopen that as a smoking lounge. Now, we have some methods in which we can operate as an indoor smoking parlor for her. Her request is going to be a little bit different. She's going to ask that council reconsider her as a membership club underneath an old designation in the zoning ordinance that was removed in August of 2019. And if you have any questions for me at this time, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, I'll let Ms. Bernard present her.
I'm sure we'll call you back.
Yes, sir.
All right. Stacy, will you give us your name and address, please?
Stacy Bernard, 285 Fawn Trail, Lake Jackson, Texas, 77566. Good afternoon, council, once again. Of course, we're back as Mr. Walton just stated. In May of 2019, we opened up Royal Haze Private Club, not under the pretense of being a private club because of TABC. However, at that time, during that board meeting, we did discuss with you all in May, I want to say it was May 15th, 2019. Yes, sir.
Could you pull the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, ma'am.
I thought I was talking. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
But in May 15th, as stated, we did come in here and we did educate you all as the board on TABC, private clubs and whatnot, and how we were different and how we did fall into the license for that type of club outside of that. We agreed during that meeting that you all were going to decide on removing membership clubs and whatnot from the zoning, so that way it ensured that any businesses came to you all in order to get approval, in order to open up in the city of Lake Jackson if they were using a membership club or trying to fall underneath the membership club. July 15th, you all removed that membership club from the zoning. That was the decision made. Fast forward, we ended up closing due to the pandemic and state regulations in May of 2020. We had to close down the location. However, the business still maintained its presence and its license. Not just the license for TABC, but as a nonprofit private club. Fast forward now, we have the funding that has been supplied to us through SBA and other funding, and we are trying to relocate to 3 Circle Way. 3 Circle Way was used in 2019, I believe, but hasn't been operated in since 2019. It was underneath the B1, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Walton. And so what we're trying to do is take that same business structure and concept that we had previously presented to you all and operated under during that time frame and get that moved to 3 Circle Way.
Okay.
Ms. Bernard,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, I'm the video screen.
It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you closed the previous hookah bar because of the pandemic, correct?
Correct, and state laws.
Okay, so what has changed? Because we're still in the middle of this pandemic.
Nothing has changed, but at this location, we actually have the ability to, one, even be more safer, with the location being over 5,000 square feet, whereas before we had a smaller venue. Our customers were closer together. Of course, we weren't able to follow a lot of the state laws. with COVID and everything. But however, within this space, we are able to implement more safety, safety precautions and whatnot. But at the same time, this also gives us the ability to in order to have more of an indoor space, because our last space was more of an outdoor space. But nothing's changing, just to make sure that you understand that nothing's changing. Besides, we will not be starting off with cigars due to the ventilation requirements that are required and so on and so forth, which is a big financial burden for us. So that would be the only thing. But however, later on down the line, we do plan to do that.
So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
your full business model, could you just describe it for me?
Full business model is basically for cigar and hookah smokers. They come in, they have a membership, they pay their fees or whatnot. They also have, we do have, of course, the food as well. They can get food, beverages as well. But pretty much, basically, the concept is for our clients to be able to come into this establishment, buy privately, and not have to worry about any other outside stressors or whatnot, so they can relieve stress through the smoking environment. That's what it's for.
So why do you need to operate as a membership versus just a?
That's what we were before. So for me, the reason why I came, and this is what I was explaining to Mr. Walton as well, we wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, like we came in before and stated what our exact purpose was, and we were doing it the right way. So for me, it made sense to come back before the board, as we did before, to explain our business model and business purpose in the midst of all of the TABC and membership club confusion, but also come back and let you all know what we are trying to do, so that way there's no question or someone coming back like before the newspaper and whatnot stating that we're trying to go underneath the system or do a backdoor, whenever that's not the case at all. That's the last thing we want. We want to make sure we come before the board and everyone knows that intent, and just go from there.
Well, again, and like you said, I think you stated is that one of the reasons why we wanted to do away with the membership, members club or whatever in the ordinance is so that, again, that people just couldn't just come under that large umbrella of,
Correct.
and just open up an operation.
Yes,
So
sir.
we did away with that. So that does require that somebody like yourself that wants to bring a business into this area that doesn't fit an existing allowance in the zone, is you have to come to council to have that discussion with us.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what's happening here. So again, that's why I asked you about your business operation. So why does your current business operations, you just explained to me, why does it not fit any of the zone allowables?
Because y'all have taken membership club out of the zoning.
So Mayor, you can't have a smoking establishment within a restaurant anymore.
It has to be a private location.
Yes. So she couldn't have her same model.
You
with
can
the smoking.
Wait, you can have a smoking, you can smoke in a restaurant. You have to have a completely separate area and separate ventilation. It's very expensive.
Her business model is what I'm saying.
Sorry, I
Okay.
think I can address your question, Mr. Mayor. There are several different methods in which Ms. Bernard and her husband can operate a smoking lounge legally inside the city of Lake Jackson. They can have a pool hall, which can allow smoking. You can have a smoking retail shop, which you can smoke in a tobacco retail shop. You can have a dedicated smoking area in a business, so long as it's demarcated by solid walls, its own ventilation system, and it's not part of the general assembly. As an example, Ms. Bernard could operate a restaurant in which she provides food, which would get her a mixed beverage license, which I think is really the main crux of the issue, because currently, with Lake Jackson being a dry city, we don't have an avenue to where where TABC can issue a private club license, because we took out the membership club portion of our ordinance. But there are avenues in which she can allow the indoor smoking. I don't think that that's necessarily the concern that Ms. Bernard is looking for, because she can have indoor smoking.
So my question is, like you mentioned, that like in any restaurant, you could have a smoking area as long as the ventilation is separated.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, please.
No, I was gonna say, a restaurant cannot be a smoking establishment, but there is a provision of the ordinance that says that you can have a smoking area inside of a establishment, so long as it has those
I see.
separations. It has solid walls. It has a ventilation system that's separate than the restaurant. So you could put a smoking area into a restaurant so long as it's not in the general seating area where you're gonna have your general population. You'd have to eat your food and then go into
And where
the smoking area.
It's where the smoke can't travel into the eating area.
Right.
That's correct. That's the intent.
So what is the difference between, in the old HEB parking lot, in the old HEB shopping center?
Yes, sir.
They have a place called a lounge,
Yes, sir.
and then where which is, they're trying to start, what's the difference between those two?
The lounge has a dedicated commercial kitchen attached to it. The lounge is one establishment that is a restaurant, so they fit under an A2 occupancy restaurant, in which case they are allowed to have a mixed beverage TABC license because of the food service.
Okay, and how about the old spot that they just unoccupied? Is
Miss Bernard's old spot?
yes,
It's-
what's the difference between that and their place now?
The backyard patio also has a dedicated kitchen and serves food through a menu.
Okay.
Sure, could you go ahead and explain the legal side of,
So can I finish my question?
oh, I didn't know you were.
Oh,
Yeah, I
thought
wasn't
you
done.
was finished.
So-
I'm sorry, sir.
So what if her business was just reversed? Her main business is smoking, right? So in a restaurant, you have to separate the smoking and non-smoking a certain way. So in her business, the larger portion could be the smoking part, and the smaller portion could be a non-smoking part.
So using that same exception in the ordinance, which allows for a dedicated smoking area, it does limit the size of that area to 30% of your aggregate
Okay, I didn't.
square
Okay,
feet.
thank you.
Smoking is 30%.
Yes, sir.
That one room.
David, I do have a question. If it's a retail business, like, let's say it was a Mercantile Tobacco 10, and they wanted to, you wanted to buy your cigar and smoke it, is there a restriction on size there?
No, there's
Or
not.
you
You
can
can
smoke in
smoke
the
throughout
whole-
the entire retail establishment.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Wouldn't that be true for some of the, like, what do they call it? The vape places that I see around? How do they,
That's an
How does that work?
interesting question, because currently, the ordinance is specific to tobacco. And state law has not come out with any kind of restrictions or laws associated with vaping. Vaping is such a new fad technology that there's not a whole lot of knowledge known about it, so there's not a whole lot of regulations that go along with it. That being said, the future editions of the mechanical code and the building codes, I'm sure, will address vaping for the concepts of indoor ventilation, much similar to a smoking environment, because they do recognize that there are inherent risks and chemicals and dangers for those that could be overserved by vaping or tobacco or be sensitive to those. So I'm sure that the future editions of the codes, and I'll be honest, I have not looked in the 2021 edition, which is currently out and available, but it's not adopted by us. So, it's not in there. So I would imagine going from 2024 forward, you probably will find some language that will address that, but
Thank
that's
you,
not
Mr. Baker.
what
I'm
we're
old.
currently after.
If I don't continue, I lose my train of thought, so I apologize.
No, Councilman Bueller had spoken, I thought
Okay.
he was finished.
And I apologize, sir, for
No
interrupting.
worries. No
Now,
worries.
Sherry, can you go ahead and speak to the legal side, please?
Okay, the legal side is that in July 2019, we took out the membership clubs. The TABC does give out permits for private clubs. But our intent of taking out the membership clubs, knowing that private clubs are there, you have to have a separate use besides just a private club, and it has to fit into something we have zoned. So if someone came and wanted to open a gambling den and have a private club and serve some booze, they couldn't do it because we don't allow gambling in town. So that's one issue. We don't currently have just people who hang out and smoke. I don't even know what the name of that would be, but I guess a smoking, I don't want to say the word bar because
Are you saying that people don't smoke? I'm sorry, can you rephrase what you just said?
No, good Lord, no. Plenty of people smoke. So that's one thing is, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we don't have a zoning use for people who just want to stand around and smoke.
Okay, I got
We
you.
we don't have that. Yeah, I just don't want to have a word attached to it that
Right.
implicates alcohol. A smoking, stress relieving building. And so that's one thing that if we wanted to do this, we'd have to come up with a word and figure out where the zoning should be. And the other thing is that once a use has stopped, the problem is this is all zoning, completely 100% zoning. So once you stopped having your hookah bar at 38 Circle Way, then, and someone else has come in and taken over, you can't reopen someplace else because it's a zoning use, it's a land use. It was attached to that, not to you as a person or as a business, but it's attached to that piece of property because it's all zoning. It isn't business law, it's zoning law. And the things that get grandfathered are land uses. And for example, Winnie's Lounge has managed to stay open year after year after year, even though we don't allow that, and they are a non-conforming use, but Winnie's Lounge could never move anywhere else. They have to stay there. Ricochets would be the same thing. They can't pick up and move to a different spot in town and open the same business. It's tied to the property itself, not the business or the people.
So for clarification purposes, are you saying that we cannot reopen the business that we had before?
Not exactly the way you had it. No, you'd have to work
And
with
why
Mr.
is that? Is it because of the, I'm trying to
Because
get
we
an
don't have
understanding because of the
membership
club.
clubs anymore,
Mm-hmm,
and you were grandfathered under that,
okay.
and
At-
that's why.
But you were grandfathered at
Correct.
that.
Property
at
was
that-
grandfathered.
At that
I'm
location.
sorry.
Correct. So then
I'm not
what would
listening
be
to
the,
myself.
then from there, what would be the resolution? Is it to ask for a variance for the next location, or are you saying that we cannot open underneath that same concept at all?
Right, you would have to convince city council to put membership clubs back, or you'd have to convince them to let you put something else in the zoning, like the smoking stress relief hut building, and then try to get a private license through TABC.
We already have everything through TABC. I'm not concerned about TABC. What I'm concerned about is the focus, the purpose of the actual business. When we initially came in here and stated, it is not like a member, it's underneath the membership club in which the definition in which you all initially had. I get
Yes,
it. I
that's
understand the business property side of it. I understand that. But what I'm asking is, if there's no other way, that's totally fine. Because I've already been talking to Mr. Walton here. Our point and our intent was to come before the board to let you all know what was going on. So that way, at the end of the day, if another news report comes out or a newspaper article comes out saying that we're undercutting the system, I want to make sure that you all understand that that is not the case. So whenever it comes back, you all can take up and stand up for us instead of us having to go and stand up ourselves.
Yeah, I don't
So
think.
that's not a problem at all if it's a no.
Yeah, I would say that nobody's thinking that you're coming underneath the radar screen or anything, because again, we
Yes,
did
sir.
away with the membership, so you have to, the only way you can move forward with your business plan that you have is to come to us to see if we would add that to the zoning.
Yes,
To
sir.
add that, whatever type business that is to the zoning.
To that current zoning now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that would be the next step, is if you want to pursue that, well, then you would have to, you'd have to bring that back to council with that request.
Or,
To
or
rezone it, is that what you're saying?
You would
Mayor?
add a definition for.
You would
is that
need to
correct?
go through planners.
Planners first.
And ask them and say, this is my business idea, there's no zoning for it, and planners would then give a recommendation to council, and then they'd say yes or no, and then I think after that, would have the public hearings. I don't see, or anyway, it's a few months at
So-
least, because when you invent something new, it takes a while.
And just so I'm clear, this property is zoned, did you say B or, what'd you say, David?
So the zoning in this area is B2 central business.
B2 Central Business, okay.
However, I think that there's usually a lot of confusion between zoning designations and occupancy classifications.
We're not doing occupancy right now.
You know, but, so for zoning, is it true, Sherry, that B2, what'd you call it? B2
B2
Special Business or whatever?
Central business.
Central Business.
Wait, hold on.
That there's a list in the ordinances of things that can go into that zone.
That's right.
And you can either make your business one of those things or add a new word to that list and make your business that new word. That's the process that Sherry was just describing.
Milford,
to
I
change
don't
the
see
ordinance
where-
itself.
Where it's gonna be in there, but if you were to pull up the ordinance real quick in the B2, in the municipal code,
It's going to
you
say,
would see
Yes, sir.
Good.
Any further questions, council?
No.
Thank
So-
you for your time.
All right, thank you. Could go to item H, and that is to discuss and consider amending the contract with Transcend Inc. For the skate park from $550,000 to the amount not to exceed $675,000.
Yeah, Mayor, excuse me, Mayor and Council, this is originally a skate park was, it looks like we're raising it quite a bit more than what we actually are. The original
Mr. Mayor, I move to amend the contract with Transcend Inc. for a skate park from 550,000 to an amount not to exceed 675,000.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, we're going to jump into item I, which is to discuss and consider a license plate recognition program. Chief Thibodeau.
Good evening, council, mayor, and staff. Quick presentation, shouldn't take but a couple of minutes, and in a nutshell, what I'm asking is
No,
case.
it's gonna be safety of your officers as well, because they know what situation they're walking up on, because if the license plate is stolen or something, they'll know. And so it'll enhance their safety as well.
Yes, sir.
That's a great program.
And I plan on giving you some feedback on those successes, and then, yes, we'll be asking to fund it through the budget.
In the area, Freeport has their cameras that were funded by Homeland Security. Are there any other communities that have license plate readers installed in our area?
I know Pearland does. It's not flock safety. They operate a little differently, and the city bought theirs and installed theirs.
Some
So-
of the larger subdivisions like Lake Savannah, Shadow Creek, they have them in their subdivision in our precinct area. When they come into the subdivision, they're able to read them and stuff like that.
It's really easy when you have a one-way in and one-way out.
As the information that's captured, is it possible to be subpoenaed to go into a court of law?
I wouldn't think that it would be necessary for anyone to subpoena them, because the information that they're gathering is information that if you were standing on the street, you'd see the same thing. And they're not getting any data below that level. They don't know any registrant information. They know what the camera saw. They provide it to us.
Okay.
Or make it available to us. They really
Right.
don't. They're just giving us access to the information, the data that they
Just
store.
another set of eyes.
And so you haven't seen any cases where this has been challenged, like the red light cameras was challenged? So you haven't seen any opposition from?
I have not. I have not.
Because you're actually receiving the information from your NCIS system yourself, not all they're providing is a plate number.
And that's a great question, because that's where the police department would have to develop some procedures on how to use that information. Because what you're getting is plate XYZ, not that the vehicle's stolen, you're not getting any VIN information, you're not getting any registration. A plate here was entered NCIC with this plate. All they got is the plate. We get an alert, the procedure that we would have, if you get alert based on flock alert on a hit for a plate, then you have to run it yourself, because that's reasonable suspicion now for the officers to run the plate and verify that the vehicle may be stolen. And then they'll get make and model when they get that registration information from the state.
And that could be subpoenaed by courts.
Yes. And then, obviously, that would be reason for a stop at that point.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on this item?
I have a couple of questions. Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah, you can
Sure.
ask. You need to come
I'll
up to,
be quick.
you have to come to
No,
audience.
just a couple of things. So you said that it was, so it's only stolen vehicles that are gonna be popping up on this thing?
Yes, from alert, that's, from flock, that's all that's
Okay.
that's all the information that's there.
Okay.
Now, the data, we can search as a police department. So if I wanted to say I had a crime, somebody committed a robbery at Walmart on this date and time and they drove off, I can go back and look at the historical data that was captured, all of those cameras, and put the search parameters in there, date, time, general area, which cameras I'm looking for, all of them, and the description of the vehicle. Say I didn't have a plate, I could look up all the vehicles that match that description that didn't have a plate. Or if we had a plate, I could see, did that plate cross any of those
Got it.
locations?
Okay. And then you said, hold on a second, sorry. So you mentioned that, that there's a bunch of other cities across the nation that are using the system. Have they seen a significant decrease in their crime statistics?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we missed a little bit of that there, but absolutely
Okay.
some very significant
Okay.
reductions in
I'll
well,
look into it.
yes, and then that's the second step, is the reduction in crime, because people get caught. The crime clearance goes up drastically at first.
What kind of crimes, is it like felony type crimes or misdemeanors, or what types of things are they being charged with?
You know, in that percentage, they don't give
They don't
a
give a
breakdown per offense, but I'll tell you from experience. You're shoplifting, you didn't walk there, you usually drove off. We make disturbance
petty
calls
theft.
to homes. We make disturbance calls to homes where before we get there, one party or the other is left.
Got it.
Before, it could be anything. Could be anything.
Okay.
Shootings, things we've had an unfortunate issue with, that we did a great job solving, but in those cases as well, that's another example.
Would've been quicker.
2004, we'd have had that vehicle information right
Okay.
there.
And word gets past that type of people that they got cameras around.
Yeah, there's a correlation between solving crimes and reducing crime.
Deterrent,
That's
yeah,
where-
deterrent.
The word gets passed.
All right, thank you.
Oh, another question, sorry. So what about, so me, as a random citizen, I swear, this is just, I'm sorry for making it longer, guys. I like to make things difficult. It's the red hair.
No,
Was yours red before too?
no.
What was I gonna say? Now I forgot what I was gonna say because I got started thinking about red hair. I'm gonna be quick. I guess I'm a little bit concerned. I'm thinking about cameras monitoring us all the time. Now I know we all carry around phones, but now we're saying yes, we're letting the government, the city of Lake Jackson, monitor like our every move. I mean, that seems kind of, to me, weird, especially because you mentioned it was artificial intelligence. And I know we just had this thing about the first item on the agenda was the Constitution Party. And the only reason why I'm bringing those two things up is the Constitution talks about people versus like artificial intelligence monitoring us. And I don't know, just the idea of having, like, because sometimes when I drive, officer, I don't come to a complete stop at a stop sign.
It's a violation.
I know.
I think what the Constitution provides you is to be secure in your own private, whatever you want to keep private, right?
Right.
Once you
Okay.
enter that public space, it's a little different. I get you. This would probably seem weird to my grandparents, and probably my parents at some point. But things have changed so much that you, for one, you're in public, so
Yeah,
don't do
it's just
anything
making
there
me-
that you wouldn't want anybody to see, because the camera's not seeing anything that I couldn't see if I was standing there.
Right.
But
It just
then
makes me think of that book, 1984.
This
Okay.
really
It's kinda
changed.
scary.
This really
Wait.
changed a lot too.
I know, but
uh,
that we're we're taking around with us versus we're allowing the government to like monitor our every move. That's really weird by artificial intelligence.
But ma'am,
Yeah.
it's not that kind of camera.
Okay.
It's the only kind of
Now,
camera.
I'll stop talking now. I'm like, whoa, this is
No,
scary.
I think that's a concern really that most people would, so it's very understandable, please. So, you know, I think that's why the company, they capture the information, you contract with them, but that's after 30 days, they're done with it, it's gone. They don't have it
just
anymore.
disappears.
It's not a live monitor where you're listening to conversations or anything
It's
like
just a
that.
camera.
It's seeing what you could see if you were standing there, and then the information goes away after 90 days.
90 days.
And we're, 30 days. I'm
30
sorry.
days.
And so we have access to that information when we
Okay.
need it.
So after 30 days,
It's
the
off the records
information,
completely.
You guys wouldn't have access to it anymore. You wouldn't be
Unless
able
it
to use
became
for-
part of a criminal offense and entered as evidence,
Then you would be able to
then
access it.
we'd keep it for the term of
Okay.
the, that we're
Okay.
required to hold it.
Awesome, thank you.
All right.
Sure.
I just want to know,
I'll need you to go ahead and state your name
Oh.
since you have.
Carlos Robinson, 285 Farm Trail, Lake Jackson. Just regarding the fire cameras, like, do you have a pre-selected set, where you're gonna put them? Is it going out of the city or like a crime neighborhood? or
Yeah,
something like
just in general, I mean, those thoroughfares where, in these crimes that we see, people, give you, for instance, we had a rash some time ago, years, where vehicles were getting stolen out at the mall parking lot. It was just real easy picking to get on 288, and we found out the suspects were a lot out of Houston coming and going. So obviously, you know, that main coming in 288, north and south, There's been a lot of things, and we know it because we go back and review the cases. You know, where did they come from after the fact? We know where they came from. So we go back and say, well, you know, had the camera been here, we'd have seen it. We live in a town where there's, 288, 332, 2004, if you got all that covered, pretty much you got in and out coming out of town. If someone was not entering town to do crime, but did a crime and left town, both of those things would be captured on the camera.
And it can be easily, it can be easily moved also, right?
You can, $250, they'll relocate it for you, and, we've already done some research on the locations based on, crime statistics, crime analysis, so.
Have you seen any, I'm curious to know what, because you mentioned sort of tangentially the, like a traffic study. I'm on traffic commission, we do traffic studies. I'm just curious to know the sort of the level of detail you could get in with that, because if we wanted to move one for a month and it costs $250 and $250 to move it back, is probably cheaper than the way we normally do traffic studies. If it had provided reliable data, reliable enough, and it's not just
it's reliable. It captures it. It doesn't miss a whole lot. It's very quick. So before the meeting, there was some conversation about coming down from 288 and what have you. And I thought, there's a lot of traffic there, speeders, but there's a lot of traffic. You want to know how much traffic between this time and this time? It'll tell you pretty accurately.
Because that's the kind of stuff
how many cars are coming in.
And we do that kind of. It's not cheap to get that information for our traffic council, but they analyze data like that very intently when they're making decisions about speed limits or new signs or whatever else. So that's a potential additional benefit. So I just want to point that out.
All right. Well, thank you for the information. There's no action on this other than we could say, heck no.
You could.
That's it. That's why we brought it to you. If council was opposed to this idea, we wouldn't pursue.
Okay.
They go for it.
All right. We'll move on to, I didn't hear any heck no's.
Okay.
All right. So we'll move forward with item J, city manager's update.
Drainage mowing, of course, it rained today. That didn't help. We've started our first round with Yellowstone. They mow our highway. We contract with them, so we've had them mow several areas. We've tried to get them to expand. Sabrina also has met with the county extension office on, I guess, growth retardant, and they've gotten their approval on and guidance on spraying the drainage ways in the future. But we'll probably start doing that after we get through this cut, and it's mostly to apply for the Johnson grass to kind of slow that down. It doesn't necessarily kill everything, which we don't want. We want to still keep the grass there for erosion, but she was worried about getting in the waterways, and they said that we're fine there. So we'll start exploring that. The other item that but this is kind of a long-term solution after we catch up, is going out for bid of like we've done, getting pricing this year, and then going out for bid in January for as much as we can, and then securing those contracts and activating them during the summer, and using it based on the savings that we have. Historically, we will easily have one position, 2,080 hours saved in the drainage department just from natural turnover. That's $45,000. That's $45,000 in May that we could activate for mowing to supplement without budgeting, for it. And that means that's $45,000 that we wouldn't have at the end of the year to transfer to capital, but it's staying in the drainage department and utilizing for mowing to help them. So that's the game plan that we're going to try. But first, we've got to prepare, bid specifications for drainage mowing, and then again, the plan is to go out sometime in December, January, and bring that to council and get that approved, and then fund it that way.
So I have a comment on the current contractor we hired to help you catch up on drainage mowing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do a very good job.
Okay.
Because they left a bunch of weeds around the structures and stuff, and I saw the city crew come behind today and clean all that up. So if we're gonna pay for somebody to do a job, I think they ought to do a turnkey job, so we don't have to go back and
Okay.
fix that up. So,
We'll work with that. We had 2 quotes from the contractors, and Yellowstone was one of them. The other one was around $2,900 for some areas. The other one was $14,000. But again, we're still monitoring to see
but just a suggestion,
how we
you
can
know,
do.
'cause,
So we'll watch that. Yeah, right. It makes no sense for us to get in a mode and we still have to come back and do it.
The other thing real quick you mentioned to me when we talked was that the evaluation of how we're doing things, that Sabrina's identified some changes.
Yeah, surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, she surprised me. Sabrina, to her nature, and she went out and weeded for a couple of hours, and just to learn from herself, like what it's like, and she picked up some things. It's like we could have better equipment. Sometimes why are we weeding with string trimmers when we could do blades and things like that? Just approaching the job differently, and seems like there's maybe a lot of times we could do something, provide the crews with better tools.
Right. Okay, great. We'll go on to item K, construction project update. Sal, you got anything to update us on?
Don't just say rain, Sal.
Rains?
Rain. No, we were able to at least get the walls on the box all the way up to the finished grade. We still haven't got the top of that thing, but at least we advanced to that point there. But one of these days, I'll bring you the photos of the process and it's, somewhat, trying to see that, where they were working, with the conditions they were working under and everything. They did a great job. We have also gone in there and finished that bay, fire station bay, re-concreting. And we will now be in a monitoring mode, to see whether that thing works the way we anticipate it working. And the concrete lining for the Walnut project has completed at least the lining portion of that one. They are moving into the actual crossing now.
Okay. Any other questions on projects from anybody on council? All right, thank you. Last item we have is item of community interest. We'll start with JB.
I haven't been able to get out and about, so I don't have anything.
All right. Rhonda, you've got anything?
Not today, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Nothing here? Okay. Renee?
nothing, sir.
Mr. Broadus?
Yes, I would like to recognize our assistant city manager and the assistant to the assistant city manager for their awesome update at the Lake Jackson Business Association lunch at the Worst House. That was last Wednesday, if I recall. They did an excellent job representing our city folks and providing an update to the folks there about residential construction projects that were going on, just sort of generally answering questions and things like that. And they did a fantastic job. So I wanted to commend them for it. It's on the record now. I heard Sally typing it away. Thank you.
Last thing I have is that we did have plans to have the Lake Jackson swim team that competed last month. They were going to be here tonight, but tonight is also Meet the Teacher Night. So we had to reschedule that for next council meeting. And so be looking forward to that. They're going to fill up the room, and we need to recognize those folks and stuff. Modesto, you got anything? Staff?
No, sir.
Nothing? We're good. All right, thank you very much. We're adjourned.